All right, so are you ready to explore Riyadh?
Sounds good to me.
Awesome, because you've got a trip coming up, and we're going to do a deep dive today right into the heart of Saudi Arabia.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You've got two sources for this deep dive.
Okay.
The flightinhotels.com website and an article called Exploring Riyadh, a comprehensive guide to the jewel of Saudi Arabia.
Ooh, jewel of Saudi Arabia. I love it already.
It's a good one.
I am seeing a beacon of modernity amidst rich cultural heritage. Like, that's a phrase that keeps coming up.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm already picturing, like, towering skyscrapers right next to these ancient palaces. Like, I'm already there. And then there's this edge of the world spot.
Right.
Which, like, come on, who wouldn't want to check that out?
I know.
It's kind of wild to think that this entire city started as, like, a small desert settlement.
Yeah, the transformation of Riyadh is remarkable.
Okay.
But let's start with the basics.
Yeah.
You're planning your trip using flightinhotels.com, right?
That's right. It seems like they've got everything. Flights, hotels, even taxi bookings.
Right. And don't forget to check out those get updates and more emails.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
having that insider info on like travel deals could really help you out, especially if you're flexible with your dates.
Yeah, that's a good point. I also noticed they have their customer service contact info right there on the homepage. It's always good to have that just in case.
Always.
While we're talking about the website, did you have a look at their About Us and Our Team sections?
I did, yeah.
I always find it helpful to learn a little bit about the company that I might be booking through.
Yeah, a little transparency goes a long way.
Totally.
But let's get to that Exploring Riyadh article.
Okay.
It paints such a vivid picture of this city's blend of like old and new.
It really does. And speaking of old and new, I'm very curious about this whole desert settlement backstory.
Yeah.
Like, how does that even happen?
Well, Riyadh's come a long way from those humble beginnings.
Mm.
It was once a small settlement right in the heart of the desert.
Mm.
Even the name Riyadh, which means gardens,
Oh, wow.
seems a little ironic.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh,
You don't
yeah.
really picture lush gardens springing up in the middle of the desert.
Exactly.
It
But
is.
that's what makes Riyadh so fascinating, right? It's defied the odds, transforming into this sprawling metropolis we see today.
Mhm.
And it's not just the capital of Saudi Arabia.
Right.
It's the political, administrative, cultural, educational, and economic hub of the nation.
Wow, that's a lot of hubs.
It is.
So we've established that Riyadh has like this incredible history
Yes.
and this crazy dynamic energy.
Yes.
But what should someone actually do when they visit?
Yeah.
Like, where should they go? What should they see?
Okay, well, if you want a taste of like modern Riyadh,
Mm-hmm.
the Kingdom Center Tower is a must-see.
Okay.
And it's not just your typical skyscraper.
Right.
This architectural marvel has a unique sky bridge,
Oh, yeah. I saw a picture of it.
okay,
Yeah.
offering these panoramic views of the city.
It's incredible. And I also read that it houses some pretty high-end shops and restaurants.
It does. It's a great place to see the more luxurious side of Riyadh,
Ooh, I like luxury.
but for a totally different experience.
Okay.
One that takes you back in time. You have to visit the Masmak Fortress.
Ooh, a fortress.
Yeah, this historical landmark
Okay.
played a pivotal role in the unification of Saudi Arabia.
So if someone's a history buff,
Yes.
this is like their spot.
This is their spot.
Yeah.
Today, the fortress serves as a museum,
Oh, cool.
offering visitors a glimpse into the country's past,
I love it.
filled with artifacts, photographs, exhibits
Mm-hmm.
that really bring history to life.
Okay, what about that edge of the world place? I need to hear more about this.
Okay, imagine
Yeah.
standing on this dramatic cliff,
Okay.
gazing out at this vast, uninterrupted expanse of the desert.
It sounds incredible.
It's a view that'll leave you speechless.
It does feel like you're at the edge of the world,
It does.
looking out into the unknown.
And the best part is, it's not just the view.
Oh, there's more.
The area is a hiker's paradise,
Oh, wow.
with trails that wind through stunning desert landscapes.
Okay, so we've got soaring skyscrapers, historical landmarks, and dramatic desert cliffs.
Mhm.
And I'm guessing the National Museum of Saudi Arabia is the place to go if you want to like really immerse yourself in the country's culture and heritage.
You guessed it. It covers this vast timeline,
Okay.
from pre-Islamic Arabia to the modern kingdom.
Wow.
You'll find artifacts, exhibits, interactive displays that tell the story of Saudi Arabia in a really captivating way.
Almost like you're getting a crash course in
Yeah.
Saudi Arabian history and culture.
And a good one.
Yeah.
And for a taste of that history in a more tangible way,
Okay.
a visit to Diriyah is a must.
Diriyah. Okay.
It's not just a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Okay.
It's the birthplace of the first Saudi state, and a stunning example of traditional Najdi architecture.
Najdi architecture. Now, there's a term I have not heard before.
Imagine wandering through narrow streets lined with these beautiful mud brick buildings, adorned with these intricate geometric patterns.
Wow.
This unique architectural style was designed to keep homes cool in the harsh desert climate.
So not only is it aesthetically pleasing, but incredibly functional.
Exactly. And if all of that exploring has got you feeling a little overwhelmed,
yeah, I can imagine.
Salam Park is the perfect place to unwind.
Oh,
It's like this green oasis in the middle of this bustling city. You'll find serene lakes, lush greenery, plenty of spaces just to relax and recharge.
Sounds like the perfect antidote to the city's energy, and I bet it's a hit with families.
Absolutely. There are plenty of activities to keep everyone entertained.
Oh, good.
From playgrounds and picnic areas to walking trails and boat rentals.
So we've covered history, culture, even relaxation, but what about shopping? I always want to know what the shopping scene is like in a new city.
Riyadh offers a shopping experience for every taste. You've got your traditional souks like Souk Al-Zal, where you can haggle for unique crafts, antiques, and spices.
Ooh.
And then you've got your modern malls like Riyadh Park and Granada Center,
Okay.
which are filled with international brands and high-end boutiques.
So it's like a mix of traditional charm and modern convenience.
Exactly. And of course, no trip to Riyadh would be complete without indulging in the local cuisine.
Okay, let's talk food. What are some must-try dishes?
You are in for a culinary adventure.
Okay, I'm ready.
You have to try kabsa.
Kabsa, okay.
It's this flavorful rice dish with tender meat.
Ooh.
And mutabak,
Mutabak, okay.
a delicious stuffed pancake.
Okay, I'm writing all this down.
And if you're feeling adventurous, there are plenty of other traditional Saudi dishes to explore.
I love to be adventurous when it comes to food.
Good.
Okay, so you've got your history, your culture shopping, and food all covered. What about the best time to visit Riyadh?
Well, according to the article, the ideal time to visit is between November and March.
Okay.
The weather is much cooler then.
Makes sense.
So sightseeing is more pleasant.
Right.
Plus, you might catch some of the city's vibrant cultural festivals and events that happen during those months.
Oh, fun. Okay, that's a good tip. And of course, when you are ready to book, flightandhotels.com is your one-stop shop for comparing flights, finding the perfect hotel, and snagging those amazing deals.
Exactly. Your one-stop shop for all your travel needs. Now let's talk about some essential travel tips for Riyadh.
Okay.
Specifically focusing on respecting local customs. This is important to keep in mind.
Yes.
Especially when you're traveling to a country with different cultural norms than your own.
Absolutely. So what kind of clothing would you recommend packing for a trip to Riyadh?
Modesty is key in Riyadh, especially for women. It's best to opt for loose-fitting clothing that covers your shoulders and knees.
Okay.
A small adjustment to make.
Yeah.
But it really shows respect for local customs.
Good to know. And beyond clothing, are there any other cultural nuances we should be aware of?
Well, Saudis are incredibly hospitable people.
That's nice.
But there are certain social customs that are important to be mindful of. For example, it's considered impolite to refuse an offer of coffee or dates, even if you're not hungry or thirsty.
Oh, okay.
It's a gesture of hospitality and a way of welcoming you.
So it's all about
Yeah.
showing that respect and appreciation.
Exactly. And while we're on the topic of respecting local customs, it's also important to remember that public displays of affection are generally frowned upon in Saudi Arabia.
Got it. So we've covered the dress code, some basic social etiquette.
Yes.
What about staying safe and healthy in Riyadh?
Well, considering it's a desert climate, staying hydrated is absolutely essential.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Always carry a water bottle with you and drink plenty of fluids throughout the day.
Right. Dehydration can really sneak up on you, especially in the heat. Anything else?
Riyadh is generally a very safe city, but it's always a good idea to be aware of your surroundings and take common sense precautions.
Like not flashing your valuables or wandering around alone in unfamiliar areas late at night. Smart. Okay, so we've talked about the dress code, social customs, how to stay safe and healthy. Now let's talk money matters.
Yeah.
What's the currency in Saudi Arabia?
The currency is the Saudi riyal.
Saudi riyal, okay?
Alright.
Yeah.
It's a good idea to have some local currency on hand for smaller purchases and tips.
Speaking of tips, is it customary to tip in Riyadh?
Yes. Tipping is generally expected in restaurants and for services like taxis.
Okay.
10% tip is usually sufficient.
Got it. So we've covered the basics, what to wear, how to behave, how to stay safe, and how to handle money.
We have, and I think the most important takeaway is to approach everything with an open mind and a willingness to learn.
I like that.
Saudi culture is rich and diverse, and there's so much to discover. Embrace the differences, ask questions, be respectful. I guarantee you'll have a much more enriching experience.
It's all about embracing the journey, right?
It is. Traveling to a new place is this opportunity to step outside your comfort zone, to experience different ways of life, and to broaden your perspective.
And who knows? You might even discover something new about yourself along the way.
Absolutely.
Okay, I love that.
Now, speaking of discoveries,
Yeah.
let's delve into some of the more unique experiences Riyadh has to offer.
Okay.
The article mentions some amazing tourist destinations, but I think we can go even deeper.
Okay, alrighty.
Have you thought about exploring the contemporary art scene in Riyadh?
Ooh, that's something I'm interested in. Tell me more. What kind of art scene are we talking about here?
Well, Riyadh has this thriving contemporary art scene with several galleries and art spaces showcasing the works of talented Saudi artists.
Very cool.
You should definitely check out the El Art Per Gallery.
Okay.
They feature a diverse range of art, from paintings and sculptures to installations and photography.
Okay, that's going on my list. And since we're talking art and culture, what about film? Is there a cinema scene in Riyadh?
Absolutely. The King Abdulaziz Center for World Culture, also known as ITHRA,
Ishra, okay.
hosts film screenings and events throughout the year. It's a fantastic place to experience Saudi cinema and learn more about the country's film industry.
Okay. I'm getting the sense that Riyadh has like a really vibrant cultural scene.
It does.
That's awesome.
And if you're looking for something a little more adventurous, have you considered trying sandboarding?
Sandboarding. Okay, now that sounds like an adrenaline rush.
It is. You can find companies that offer sandboarding excursions to the dunes outside the city.
What?
It's a thrilling experience and a great way to get your heart pumping.
Okay, I am adding sandboarding to the list. What else?
For a more cultural experience,
Yeah.
you could visit a camel market.
A camel market.
It's a fascinating glimpse into traditional Saudi life, and you might even be tempted to haggle for a camel of your own.
That is an experience you do not get every day.
No, you don't. Okay.
Intrigued. And of course, no trip to Riyadh would be complete without experiencing the atmosphere of these traditional souks.
Right.
We mentioned Souk Al-Zal earlier, but there are other souks worth exploring as well, each with its own unique character and offerings. Yeah. It's a feast for the senses, with colorful textiles, intricate jewelry, fragrant spices, and traditional perfumes.
It really is.
A sensory overload in the best way possible.
Yeah, exactly. And while you're exploring, you're going to need to get around the city, right?
Right. So what are our options for transportation in Riyadh?
Riyadh has this really modern and efficient public transportation system.
Okay.
Includes buses, taxis, and a new metro system.
Oh, wow.
The metro is a great option for getting around the city quickly and easily, especially if you're staying near one of the stations.
And what about taxis?
Taxis are readily available, but it's always a good idea to negotiate the fare before you get in.
That's a good tip. I've heard stories about taxi drivers taking advantage of tourists who aren't familiar with the local rates.
Exactly. Now, the article also mentions renting a car as an option.
Yeah, it did. What are your thoughts on that?
Renting a car can give you more flexibility, especially if you're planning on venturing outside the city or exploring at your own pace. However, driving in Riyadh can be a little chaotic, especially during rush hour.
So probably not the best option for someone who's not a very confident driver.
Probably not.
Okay, good to know. While we're on the topic of like practical matters.
Yes.
How do you plan on staying connected while you're in Riyadh?
Oh, that's a good point.
I hadn't really thought about that.
Most hotels and cafes offer Wi-Fi, so you can easily stay connected online.
Okay.
You can also purchase a local SIM card for your phone,
Okay.
which will give you access to local data and calling plans.
Are there any specific mobile providers you recommend?
The main mobile providers in Saudi Arabia are STC Mobily and Zain.
Okay.
They all offer competitive packages, so it's worth comparing their deals to see which one suits you best.
Great. I'll definitely check them out. So I've covered transportation, communication, all the essential logistics.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get back to like those must-do activities that really capture the essence of Riyadh.
Okay.
What shouldn't I miss?
Well, we've already talked about some of the more adventurous activities.
Right. The sandboarding and the camel riding.
Yeah.
But for a more relaxing cultural experience, you should consider spending an evening at a traditional Arabian coffee house.
Ooh, now that sounds like my kind of evening.
Yeah.
What are these coffee houses like in Riyadh?
They're a wonderful way to experience Saudi hospitality.
Okay.
And to savor the rich flavors of Arabian coffee and dates.
Ah.
You'll often find traditional music and storytelling in these coffee houses.
Oh, wow.
which adds to the cultural immersion.
It sounds like the perfect way to unwind after a day of exploring.
It is. And if you're looking for a unique shopping experience,
Okay.
be sure to visit the date market.
A date market. Tell me more.
It's a bustling market where you can find an incredible variety of dates,
Wow.
from the common medjool to more exotic varieties.
I didn't even know there were so many different kinds of dates.
Dates are a significant part of Saudi culture and cuisine,
Okay.
and the date market is the perfect place to sample different flavors and learn more about this important fruit. Okay, I'm adding the date market to my list. What else?
If you're interested in history and architecture, a visit to the Maraba Palace is a must.
Maraba Palace, okay.
It's a beautiful example of traditional Saudi architecture,
Mm-hmm.
and it was once the royal residence of King Abdulaziz, the founder of modern Saudi Arabia.
Wow. Okay, so I've got palaces,
Yes.
coffee houses, date markets,
Mhm.
camel rides,
Mm.
sandboarding.
It's a lot.
It sounds like Riyadh has something for everyone.
It really does. Whether you're interested in history, culture, adventure, or simply relaxation, you're sure to find something to captivate you in this vibrant city.
It all sounds absolutely incredible.
It is. And remember, with flightandhotels.com, you can book your flights, hotels, and even rental cars all in one place,
Right.
making your trip planning that much easier.
Very convenient. So we've talked a lot about Riyadh's impressive growth, this blend of tradition and modernity.
Yeah,
But what about the challenges the city faces?
that's a great question.
What are some of the issues Riyadh is grappling with as it continues to evolve?
Well, like any rapidly growing city, Riyadh has its share of challenges.
Right.
One of the biggest issues is managing the city's rapid population growth.
Yeah.
As more people move to Riyadh for work and opportunity, it puts a strain on the city's infrastructure and resources.
I can imagine that creates a lot of pressure to expand and develop sustainably.
Exactly. Another challenge is preserving Riyadh's cultural heritage in the face of modernization.
Right. You don't want to lose that unique cultural identity.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes Riyadh so special. And then there's the issue of sustainability, particularly in a desert environment. Water scarcity is a major concern.
Yeah, water is such a precious resource, especially in a desert climate.
It is.
Yeah.
And Riyadh is also dealing with air pollution,
Right.
which is exacerbated by the hot, dry climate.
So it sounds like finding sustainable solutions to these environmental challenges is crucial for the city's long-term well-being.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Right. It's not just about finding solutions,
Yeah.
but it's about implementing them effectively and ensuring that they're sustainable in the long run.
Exactly.
Ah.
But I will say that Riyadh is taking these challenges seriously.
Okay, good.
The city is investing in renewable energy sources, improving public transportation,
Mm-hmm.
and implementing water conservation initiatives.
Good.
There's definitely a conscious effort to create a more sustainable future.
It's encouraging to hear.
Yeah.
And it's not just about government initiatives, is it?
No, there's a growing awareness among the general public about the importance of sustainability. And people are becoming more engaged in finding solutions.
That's awesome. It sounds like there's a real sense of collective responsibility for creating a better future for Riyadh.
There is. Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Right.
let's talk about the lasting impressions or insights you might take away from your trip to Riyadh.
Okay, so beyond the amazing sights and experiences, what are some of the things that will stay with me long after I return home?
I think you'll come away with a deeper understanding of Saudi culture and a greater appreciation for the warmth and hospitality of the Saudi people. You'll see beyond the stereotypes
Yeah.
and discover a rich and complex culture that is both fascinating and welcoming.
I'm starting to get really excited about this trip.
You should be.
Yeah.
You'll also be amazed by the city's incredible transformation. To witness a city that was once a small desert settlement, now standing as a global hub of commerce and culture, is truly awe-inspiring.
It's a testament to the power of human vision and determination.
It is. And on a more personal level, I think you'll also be struck by the beauty and serenity of the desert landscape.
Yeah.
There's a certain magic to the vast emptiness, the silence, and the breathtaking sunsets that you just don't find anywhere else.
It's a reminder of the power and the beauty of the natural world.
Exactly. And finally, I think you'll come away with a sense of hope for the future.
Okay.
Despite the challenges Riyadh faces, there's a palpable energy and optimism in the city. It's a place that's constantly evolving, pushing boundaries, and striving for a better tomorrow.
It's a city that's not afraid to dream big.
Exactly. And that's a powerful message to bring back from any journey.
Well said. I think we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
We've explored Riyadh's history,
Mm-hmm.
culture attractions, and even its challenges and aspirations.
We have touched on everything from soaring skyscrapers to traditional souks, from the thrill of sandboarding to the tranquility of a traditional coffee house.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty well versed in all things Riyadh now.
I think it's safe to say you're ready to embark on your adventure.
Absolutely. I've got all the information I need to make the most of my trip, and I'm feeling inspired and excited.
And most importantly, you've got an open mind and a sense of adventure, which are the best travel companions you could ask for.
Well said. But before we move on to the next part of our deep dive, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just one last thought. As you explore Riyadh, I encourage you to take the time to connect with the local people. Engage in conversations, ask questions, and listen to their stories. It's often the personal connections that make a trip truly memorable.
That's a great reminder. All right, I'm ready to dive even deeper into Riyadh. Let's continue our exploration.
That's good to me. You know, it's fascinating how a city right in the heart of the desert has become such a global hub.
Right, like what fuels that kind of growth? Ambition, necessity?
It's a good question.
I don't know.
I mean, it speaks to human adaptability for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The drive to innovate.
Yeah, and speaking of innovation, the architecture in Riyadh seems to really reflect that blend of tradition and modernity that we keep talking about. You've got those towering skyscrapers like the Kingdom Center Tower, which is such a symbol of like economic progress and modern design.
Right.
But then right alongside those, you have these structures like the buildings in Diriyah, which are these beautiful representations of traditional Najdi architecture.
It's like this visual dialogue between the past and the present.
Totally.
And it's not just aesthetics. It's about what those different styles represent.
Yeah.
The traditional structures are a connection to Riyadh's roots, a reminder of its history and its connection to the desert and Bedouin culture.
Right.
Then you have that modern architecture showcasing the city's ambition, its forward-thinking approach.
Yeah, it's like they're saying we're proud of our heritage, but we're also looking ahead.
Yeah.
Speaking of heritage, I'm curious to learn more about Saudi culture beyond just like the dress code.
Yeah.
The article mentions that Riyadh is a conservative city and stresses the importance of respecting local customs.
Right.
So what are some key things that I should keep in mind?
Well, as we said earlier, modesty is key, especially for women. Loose-fitting clothing that covers the shoulders and knees is definitely the way to go.
Okay.
But beyond that, it's important to understand that Saudi culture really places a high value on hospitality and politeness.
Okay, so being mindful of my interactions with people.
Exactly. Simple gestures like greeting people with salam, which is hello.
Okay.
And expressing gratitude with shukran, which is thank you.
Got it.
Go a long way in demonstrating respect.
Awesome. Are there any other social customs or like etiquette tips that I should be aware of?
Well, Saudis are incredibly generous and hospitable.
Oh, that's nice.
And it's actually considered rude to refuse an offer of coffee or dates, even if you're not hungry or thirsty.
Oh, wow.
It's a gesture of hospitality.
So it's all about like accepting those offerings graciously, even if it's just a small gesture.
Exactly. Showing that appreciation for their customs. Along those lines, public displays of affection are generally frowned upon in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
So best to keep things respectful.
Got it.
And avoid anything that could be perceived as inappropriate.
It's about being mindful and respectful, which are good guidelines no matter where you travel.
Exactly.
The article emphasizes the importance of staying hydrated in Riyadh's desert climate, which seems kind of obvious. But are there any other health or safety tips that are specific to the region?
You're right. Staying hydrated is crucial. Especially when you're out exploring. Always carry a water bottle. Drink plenty of fluids. And if you're venturing to places like the edge of the world, it's wise to let someone know your plans and take necessary precautions.
Good point.
The desert can be unpredictable.
Yes, it can. While Riyadh is generally considered a safe city, it's always good to take those common sense precautions, like being aware of your surroundings.
Right.
Not wandering around alone in unfamiliar areas late at night.
Absolutely. Now, shifting gears a bit,
Yeah.
let's talk about some practical matters.
Yeah, okay.
Like currency and tipping.
Yes, because those are things you need to know.
Right.
Yeah.
Before you even get there.
Exactly.
So the currency in Saudi Arabia is the Saudi Riyal.
Saudi Riyal.
SAR.
Okay.
And it's always a good idea to have some local currency on hand
Right.
for those smaller purchases.
Right.
Especially in the souks. And when it comes to tipping.
Is that customary in Riyadh?
Yes. Tipping is generally expected in restaurants.
Okay.
And for services like taxis,
Okay.
a 10% tip is usually considered sufficient.
Perfect. So we've covered the dress code, social customs, staying safe, and even money matters.
We have.
Is there anything else I should keep in mind as I navigate the cultural landscape of Riyadh?
I think the most important thing is to approach everything with an open mind and a willingness to learn.
Yeah, I like that.
Saudi culture is rich and complex. There's so much to discover.
Yeah.
Embrace the differences. Be respectful. Don't be afraid to ask questions. It's all part of the experience.
I love that. It's all about embracing the experience.
Exactly.
Now, we've talked about the well-known tourist spots.
Yeah.
But I'm always on the lookout for those hidden gems or those like off-the-beaten-path experiences.
Okay.
Are there any places that you would recommend that might not be in like the typical guidebook?
Well, if you're interested in art, Riyadh has this thriving contemporary art scene
Right. Okay.
that often gets overlooked.
Okay.
There are tons of galleries
Wow.
showcasing the work of talented Saudi artists.
I love that.
A great place to start is the Al Art Per Gallery.
Okay.
They have a diverse collection, everything from paintings and sculptures to installations and photography.
Okay, that sounds right up my alley. And since we're talking art, what about film?
Yes,
Is there like a cinema scene there?
there is.
Okay.
The King Abdulaziz Center for World Culture, known as ITHRA,
Ithra, okay.
is a fantastic venue for film screenings and cultural events,
Awesome.
including those highlighting Saudi cinema.
This is so cool.
It's a great way to experience the local filmmaking scene
Okay.
and learn more about the stories being told through film in Saudi Arabia.
Art galleries and film screenings. I love it.
Good.
Now, what about something a little more, shall we say, adventurous?
Okay.
What would you suggest for someone who's looking for a bit of a thrill?
Well, have you ever tried sandboarding?
Sandboarding in the desert?
Yeah.
I've never even heard of that.
It's an incredible experience. Imagine surfing down giant sand dunes.
That sounds so cool.
It's an adrenaline rush, for sure. And there are companies that offer guided excursions.
Really?
Some of the best dunes right outside the city.
Okay, sandboarding in the desert, that's going on the list.
Good.
What about those cultural experiences that really give you a sense of everyday life in Riyadh?
Okay, well, if you want a true glimpse into traditional Saudi life, I highly recommend visiting a camel market.
A camel market?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a bustling hub of activity,
Okay.
a fascinating cultural experience. You'll see people trading camels, bargaining, and socializing.
It's amazing to think that that kind of tradition still thrives in a city that's as modern as Riyadh.
It's that blend of old and new that makes Riyadh so fascinating.
I love that.
And speaking of traditional experiences,
Yeah.
we can't forget about the souks.
Right?
We already talked about Souk El Zal,
Yeah.
but honestly, exploring any of the souks is a must-do.
Oh, for sure.
They're full of life energy and unique finds, from traditional clothing, textiles, to spices and perfumes.
I love exploring markets when I travel.
Good.
It's like stepping into another world.
It is.
All the sights, sounds, and smells create such a vibrant atmosphere.
Yeah, sensory overload in the best way.
Totally.
And you never know what treasures you'll find.
So true. Okay, now let's talk logistics.
Okay.
How are you planning to get around Riyadh?
Yeah.
We talked about public transportation. I'm curious to know what you're thinking in terms of getting from place to place.
Well, we talked about the metro, which sounds like a great option for getting around efficiently.
Are there any tips for navigating the metro system?
It's very user-friendly, but if you're ever unsure about anything, don't hesitate to ask for help.
Okay.
People are very happy to point you in the right direction.
And of course, be mindful of rush hour, just like in any major city.
Exactly.
And what about taxis? Those are always a good backup option.
Taxis are plentiful, but it's good practice to negotiate the fare beforehand.
Good point.
Yeah, just to avoid any surprises.
Yeah, I've heard stories about taxi drivers taking advantage of tourists who aren't familiar with the local rates.
Exactly. And of course, if you're comfortable driving, renting a car can give you more flexibility.
What about the traffic, though? I've heard stories about Riyadh's traffic being pretty intense.
It can be a little chaotic, especially during rush hour.
Yeah, so probably not the best option for someone who's not a confident driver.
Probably not.
Yeah, that's probably wise. I'd rather not add to the traffic chaos.
Oh, no.
Okay, so let's talk about staying connected.
Okay.
What are my options for communication in Riyadh?
Well, you'll find Wi-Fi in most hotels and cafes.
Okay.
So you can stay connected online.
Mm-hmm.
But if you need more consistent access to the internet or want to make local calls, you can purchase a local SIM card for your phone.
Okay. Are there any specific mobile providers that you'd recommend?
STC Mobily and Zain are the main providers in Saudi Arabia,
Okay.
and they all offer competitive packages. I'd suggest comparing their deals to see what suits you best.
Great advice. So we've covered transportation communication.
Yeah, all those logistics.
Logistics, exactly. Now let's get back to the fun stuff.
Okay.
What are some of those quintessential Riyadh experiences that you would recommend?
Okay.
Like those things that will really give me a taste of the local culture.
Well, for a truly authentic experience, I recommend spending an evening at a traditional Arabian coffee house.
Ooh, I love coffee houses.
Yeah.
What are they like in Riyadh?
They're these warm, inviting spaces where you can relax,
Okay.
savor those rich flavors of Arabian coffee and dates,
Yeah,
and really immerse yourself in the local culture.
I love that.
You'll often find traditional music and storytelling,
Oh, wow.
which really adds to the ambiance. It's a beautiful way to unwind and connect with the heart of Riyadh.
It sounds like the perfect way to just like slow down
Yeah.
and soak up the atmosphere.
Exactly.
I'm picturing myself sipping strong coffee, listening to stories, just enjoying the moment.
It's a unique experience.
Yeah, it really does sound like it. And if you're a foodie, you have to visit the date market.
Oh, yes, the date market.
A date market.
It's a sight to behold.
I'm intrigued.
It's a bustling market
Okay.
dedicated entirely to dates.
What?
You'll find every variety imaginable,
Wow.
from the common medjool to the most exotic and rare dates.
I never knew there were so many different kinds of dates.
Dates are a staple in Saudi culture and cuisine,
Mm-hmm.
and the date market is the best place to experience the diversity and importance of this fruit.
Okay, the date market is on my list.
Good.
Now, what about historical sites?
Okay.
Are there any hidden gems beyond the well-known ones that we've already talked about?
Well, for a glimpse into Riyadh's royal history, a visit to the Murabba Palace is a must.
Murabba Palace.
It's a stunning example of traditional Saudi architecture.
Mm-hmm.
And it was once the residence of King Abdulaziz, the founder of modern Saudi Arabia.
It sounds like stepping back in time.
It is.
Oh.
And the palace is beautifully preserved, giving you a real sense of the grandeur and history of the Saudi royal family.
So we've covered palaces, coffee houses, date markets, camel rides, sandboarding.
It is.
It seems like Riyadh has something for everyone.
It really does. Whether you're interested in history, culture, adventure, or relaxation, Riyadh has something to offer.
It's amazing to think that a city in the middle of the desert has become such a vibrant and diverse destination.
It is. And speaking of that transformation, it's important to acknowledge that Riyadh, like any rapidly growing city, faces its share of challenges.
Right. We touched on those challenges earlier, like managing population growth,
Right.
preserving cultural heritage,
Right.
ensuring sustainability.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know more about the specifics. What are some of the key issues that Riyadh is currently grappling with as it continues to develop?
Well, managing rapid population growth is a major challenge.
Yeah.
As more and more people move to Riyadh for work and opportunity,
Right.
it puts a strain on the city's infrastructure, housing, and resources.
I bet it's like trying to keep up with the pace of progress,
Yeah.
but also making sure the city doesn't lose its unique character.
Exactly. And as Riyadh embraces modernization,
Right.
it's also super important to preserve its cultural heritage.
Yeah, you don't want to lose that.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's about finding that balance between honoring the past and embracing the future.
It's a delicate balance,
It is.
but it sounds like something that Riyadh is actively working towards.
Absolutely. And then, of course, you have the environmental challenges, particularly in a desert environment.
Yeah.
Water scarcity is a major concern.
For sure.
And the city's also grappling with air pollution.
Yeah, those are significant issues that require innovative solutions.
They are.
Yeah.
But Riyadh is investing in renewable energy sources, improving public transportation, and implementing water conservation measures.
Good.
So there's definitely a conscious effort to address these challenges and create a more sustainable future.
It's encouraging to hear that they're taking these issues seriously and actively working towards solutions. But I'm curious about the role of the people in all of this.
No.
Are the residents of Riyadh actively involved in these efforts?
Absolutely. There's a growing awareness among the general public
Okay.
about the importance of sustainability. and people are becoming more engaged in finding solutions.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's a real sense of collective responsibility. Yeah.
For creating a better future for Riyadh.
I love that. And it's that sense of community and shared vision that makes me optimistic about Riyadh's future.
Me too. Now let's shift gears one last time.
Okay.
And think about what you'll take away from your trip to Riyadh.
Okay, so beyond like the memories
Yeah.
and the experiences, what kind of impact do you think this trip will have on me?
I think you'll come away with a much deeper understanding of Saudi culture.
Okay.
You'll experience firsthand the warmth and hospitality of the Saudi people. You'll see beyond the stereotypes and media portrayals to discover this rich and complex culture that is both fascinating and welcoming.
I'm already starting to feel a shift in my perspective just by learning about Riyadh through this deep dive.
Yeah, it's amazing what travel can do.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
You'll also be amazed by the city's transformation.
Okay.
To witness a city that was once a small desert settlement, now standing as a global hub of commerce and culture, is truly awe-inspiring.
Yeah, it's a reminder that anything is possible.
It is.
With determination and a willingness to push boundaries.
Exactly. And on a more personal level, I think you'll also be struck by the beauty and serenity of the desert landscape.
Yeah.
There's a certain magic to the vast emptiness, the silence, and the stunning sunsets that you just don't find anywhere else.
I can already picture it.
Yeah.
Standing at the edge of the world,
Yes.
watching the sunset over this vast desert.
Yeah, it's unforgettable.
It really does. And finally, I think you'll come away with a sense of hope for the future.
Okay.
Despite the challenges Riyadh faces, there's a palpable energy and optimism in the city. It's a place that's constantly evolving, pushing boundaries.
Yeah.
Striving for a better tomorrow.
A city that embodies resilience, innovation, and the belief that a brighter future is possible.
I love that. It's inspiring to think about the possibilities that lie ahead for Riyadh.
It is. And it's a reminder that even in the face of challenges, we have the power to shake our future.
Yeah.
And create a world we're proud to live in.
Well said. I think we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
We've explored everything from cultural nuances and practical tips to hidden gems and the city's ongoing challenges and aspirations.
We've delved into the heart of Riyadh, uncovering its history, its culture, its people, and its vision for the future.
I feel like I have a much deeper understanding of the city now,
Good.
and I'm even more excited about my trip.
That's wonderful to hear. I think you're going to have an amazing experience.
I think so too. But before we wrap up this part of our conversation, is there anything else you'd like to ask or any topic you want to revisit?
You know, we've talked about all the amazing things to see and do in Riyadh, but I'm curious what it's like to actually live there.
Right.
What's daily life like for the residents of Riyadh?
Exactly. It's one thing to experience a city as a visitor,
Right.
but it's another thing entirely to understand what it's like to call that city home.
Absolutely.
I'd love to get a glimpse into the everyday lives of the people who live and work in Riyadh.
Well, let's dive into that in the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good to me. I'm ready to explore what it's like to live in the jewel of Saudi Arabia. So we've explored all the tourist attractions, we've talked about the culture and the challenges facing Riyadh, but I'm really curious to get a sense of what daily life is like for the people who actually live there.
You know, it's easy to get caught up in the highlights when you're planning a trip,
Yeah.
but understanding the rhythm of daily life can really enrich the experience.
Totally. So what are some of the things that shape the everyday lives of Riyadh's residents?
Well, family plays a central role in Saudi culture,
Okay.
and that's really reflected in daily life in Riyadh. Families are very close-knit. Social gatherings and celebrations are frequent.
So it's a very social and family-oriented culture. How does that actually play out in the city?
You'll see families out and about together, you know, in parks, restaurants, shopping malls. Weekends are especially important for family time.
Okay.
It's not uncommon to see extended families get together for large meals and social gatherings.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that travel isn't just about seeing the sights.
Right.
It's about connecting with the people and understanding their way of life.
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to work, Riyadh is a bustling hub of commerce and industry.
Okay.
The city is home to many large corporations, government offices, and financial institutions. So you'll find a lot of residents working in these sectors.
And what about commuting? I know we talked about transportation earlier, but I'm curious about the daily commute for like the average person living in Riyadh.
Well, as we mentioned, the Riyadh Metro has made a huge difference in terms of easing that traffic congestion.
That's good.
A lot of residents rely on the metro to get to and from work.
Okay.
And it's also a really convenient way to just get around the city in general.
What about those who don't live near a metro station?
Well, taxis and ride-sharing services are popular options, as is driving. However, traffic can still be a challenge during peak hours.
So I'm guessing a typical workday in Riyadh starts pretty early to beat the rush hour.
That's a safe bet.
Okay, so we've talked about work and family.
Yeah.
But religion also plays a pretty significant role in the daily lives of many residents in Riyadh, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As you know, Saudi Arabia is an Islamic country,
Mm-hmm.
and Islam is really woven into the fabric of society.
So how does that manifest itself in daily life?
Well, you'll hear the call to prayer 5 times a day, broadcast from mosques throughout the city.
Okay.
Many residents observe the daily prayers, and shops and businesses often close briefly during prayer times.
It's a good reminder of the importance of faith in the lives of many people living in Riyadh. And I imagine the holy month of Ramadan has a pretty significant impact on daily life as well.
Absolutely. During Ramadan, Muslims abstain from food and drink from dawn to sunset.
Right.
So the city kind of takes on a different rhythm during this time,
Okay.
with restaurants closed during the day, and there's a real focus on spiritual reflection and community gatherings in the evenings.
It sounds like a fascinating time to experience the city, albeit with a bit more awareness and sensitivity to the customs and practices of Ramadan.
Exactly. Now, beyond those aspects,
Yeah.
I think it's important to highlight that Riyadh is a city that is constantly evolving. It's a place where tradition and modernity intersect,
Right.
creating this really dynamic and sometimes surprising blend.
Yeah, we talked about the architecture being an example of
Yeah.
that blend.
Exactly. And that sense of change and evolution
Yeah.
is palpable in the daily lives of the residents. There's this sense of optimism and a drive to embrace progress while still holding on to their cultural heritage.
It sounds like a really fascinating time to be living in Riyadh,
Yeah.
witnessing this transformation firsthand. Okay, so we've talked about the rhythm of daily life, work, family, faith.
Mm-hmm.
But what about leisure time? What do people in Riyadh do for fun?
Well, as we discussed, family time is super important.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of leisure activities really revolve around spending time with loved ones.
Okay.
Picnics in parks, outings to shopping malls,
Right.
gatherings at home are all popular ways to spend free time.
So those like tranquil parks and green spaces we talked about
Yeah.
are not just for tourists, they're an integral part of daily life for residents.
Absolutely. They provide a welcome respite from the hustle and bustle of the city. And in the evenings,
Yeah.
many families enjoy strolling along Talia Street.
Tell you straight. Okay.
It's this vibrant pedestrian area with shops, restaurants, and cafes.
Sounds like a great place to like people watch and soak up the city's energy.
It is. And for those who enjoy a bit more excitement, there are amusement parks, cinemas, and even an ice skating rink.
Wow, ice skating in the desert.
That-
That's quite the contrast.
It is. But it really speaks to the diversity of experiences
Yeah.
available in Riyadh. And of course, there's always the option of venturing out into the desert for camping, dune bashing, or just stargazing under the vast Arabian sky.
It sounds like there's no shortage of things to do in Riyadh, both within the city and beyond.
Exactly. Now, as we wrap up our exploration of daily life,
Yeah.
I think it's important to highlight that while the city's constantly evolving, embracing modernity, there's still a strong sense of tradition and cultural identity.
Right. That seems to be a recurring theme,
Yeah,
this balance between tradition and progress.
it is. And it's this unique blend that makes Riyadh such a fascinating and dynamic city. Okay, shifting gears one last time.
Okay.
I'm curious, what are you most looking forward to experiencing during your trip?
Oh, that's a tough one. There are so many things I want to see and do. I'm really intrigued by the edge of the world. Just the idea of standing on a cliff and overlooking this vast desert landscape is breathtaking.
I know, it's incredible.
And I'm really looking forward to exploring the souks
Yeah.
and immersing myself in all the sights, sounds, and smells of those traditional markets.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm also excited to try some of the local cuisine.
Good.
That kabsa dish sounds delicious.
It is. And don't forget to sample those dates at the date market.
Of course. Now, before we officially wrap up this deep dive, let's talk about the future of Riyadh.
Okay.
We've touched on the city's ambitious plans for growth and development,
Yeah.
but I'd love to delve a bit deeper. What are some of the key projects or initiatives that are shaping the city's vision for the years to come?
One of the most ambitious projects
Okay.
is the King Salman Park.
King Salman Park, okay.
It's set to become one of the largest urban parks in the world.
Wow.
Imagine this massive green space right in the heart of the city with gardens, lakes, museums, theaters, and even a royal arts complex.
It sounds like a true oasis in the middle of the desert.
It is. And it's designed to be a hub for culture, entertainment, recreation, a place where residents and visitors can connect with nature and just enjoy a wide range of activities.
Wow. It sounds like it's going to transform the urban landscape.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there's the Diriyah Gate project,
Okay.
which aims to revitalize the historic district of Diriyah,
Yeah.
the birthplace of the first Saudi state.
Right. We talked about Riyadh. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, right?
It is. And this project is all about preserving the past
Okay.
while creating a vibrant destination for the future. It's a celebration of Saudi heritage and culture.
It sounds like a really fantastic way to honor the past while creating these opportunities for the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about the Riyadh Metro.
Right.
It's already partially operational, but it's going to be expanded to cover the entire city.
Yeah, we talked about how convenient the metro is for getting around. So how is this expansion going to impact the city?
I think it's really going to revolutionize transportation in Riyadh. It'll make it so much easier for people to get around, reduce traffic congestion, and improve air quality.
It's a win-win for the environment and the residents.
Exactly. And these are just a few of the exciting projects that are shaping the future of Riyadh.
It's truly impressive to
Yeah.
see a city embracing progress and innovation on such a grand scale.
It is. And it's a reminder that even in a challenging environment like the desert, human ingenuity and determination can achieve remarkable things.
Well said. I have a feeling you're going to be amazed by all that Riyadh has to offer, both now and in the years to come.
I'm certain of it. It's a city that will surprise you, challenge you, and inspire you.
Well, I think we've covered just about everything there is to know about Riyadh.
We have.
We've explored its history, culture, attractions, challenges, aspirations, and even what it's like to live there.
We've truly taken a deep dive into the heart of this incredible city.
I feel incredibly well-informed and excited to embark on my own Riyadh adventure.
Awesome.
And who knows, maybe we'll do another deep dive in a few years to see how all those amazing projects have unfolded.
That's a great idea.
But for now, I want to thank you so much for sharing your expertise and insights with me. It's been a truly enlightening journey.
It's been my pleasure. Safe travels, and may your trip be filled with wonder and discovery.
Thank you. I have a feeling it will be. And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Riyadh, the jewel of Saudi Arabia. Until next time, keep exploring.